Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. Happy Easter. Hope you're all doing well up there. And we have a lot to get into tonight, including a golf schedule, which is rather ambitious as they expect to get back to play on the PGA Tour. Also, Kevin Colbert wants 3 more rounds added to the NFL draft. We'll talk the Steelers, and we'll talk about some of the issues surrounding the NFL and the NHL. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be Major League Baseball, with a couple of interesting proposals to start their season in 2020 if this virus is contained. And here is your panel. Talking sports tonight with me is Andrew Fillipponi from 93.7 The Fan. He is in the Green Tree Studios. And my colleague here at KDKA, Rich Walsh, who is at home. So we continue to social distance, and that's a good thing, and all of you at home should be trying to do that as well. All right, let's get right into it, because we've seen a couple of interesting proposals here from baseball. One has a bubble in Arizona where everyone goes to, stays, no family, no friends, just stay there for 4.5 months and play baseball in Arizona. And the other one has a Cactus League versus Grapefruit League. I'm going to start with the first one, Rich Walsh, and your take on the idea of playing everything in one city in Phoenix, Arizona, limiting travel, limiting exposure to other people. Is it doable?
I don't think it is. I don't think that's a doable one. I like the other one. I think it's more realistic if you do Cactus and Grapefruit League, and the Pirates would be in a division with the Yankees, the Phillies, the Tigers, and the Blue Jays. I think that's a more realistic scenario a couple months away, but I actually believe and I hope that the teams will be playing in their hometown cities at some point this year, and with a shortened season, maybe half the season, if they can play in their cities. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's the most realistic scenario out of all of them. But I'll take anything right now, Bob, because getting sports back is about healing and hope, and I think that's something we need right now. You saw China. China's playing baseball again. No fans, but at least they're playing baseball again. And I think that's what the United States needs at some point here soon.
Andrew?
Well, Bob, I appreciate you trying to get right down to business, but I'm not going to let you get off that easy. I got to give you a belated happy 47th birthday shout out. You look so good. You look amazing. I saw your Super Bowl shuffle video this week. It was incredible. And that's one for the archives. As far as these proposals go, I think the Arizona thing would allow for you to, going off of what Richie said, you could start there, and then if things got better, you could have, as the summer went on, you could maybe go back to playing in stadiums, maybe if you're ambitious, with fans eventually, although I think that's a long shot, and you could keep the American League and National League structure as it is right now. The other idea, I got to be honest with you guys, if they do the other thing, have a baseball season, it can be fun, somebody will win the league, but I don't think you could call it a World Series champion. If it's Grapefruit League and Cactus League, to me, that's not a World Series winner, and you'd have to designate it or denote it as something entirely different at the end of the year.
Well, I don't think that really matters. They can do that, put an asterisk by it and say, okay, this was a pandemic that we had to deal with, and this is what we came up with. On that thought, Rich, I want to talk about that division that the Pirates would be in. You got the Yankees, you got the Phillies, you got the Blue Jays and the Tigers. There's one team the Pirates can maybe finish ahead of, which would be Detroit. Although, if it's, let's say, 85 to 100 games, let's say it comes to that, do you think the Pirates could be in contention just because it's not 162 games? And normally after 162, the better teams seem to rise to the top.
I'm going to be realistic here. No, they have no chance to compete in either one of the divisions, whether it's the normal Pirates division or if it's the division in the Grapefruit League. I think at best case scenario, if they're in that division, they're not going to be any better than the Yankees and they're not going to be better than the Phillies. Best case scenario would be 3rd place, even with a shortened season. Now, a shortened season does help a team like the Pirates, but I just can't see them competing in the long run with teams like the Yankees and with teams like the Phillies, and even with teams like the Cubs, the Cardinals, and even the Reds.
Well, we don't even know, Bob, if it's 80 games. I don't think they'll finish ahead of the Yankees. I don't think they'll finish ahead of the Phillies. I'm with Richie on that. But if there's more playoffs, if there's expanded playoffs, 3rd place might get you in. And then if you're playing best of 3 or best of 5, I mean, who knows? I don't think that the Pirates will win the 2020 championship, but this Cactus Grapefruit League proposal benefits bad teams. And it definitely helps out a team that was in a division, the NL Central, where they were clearly the 5th place team. And that's just not the case with this Grapefruit League division, guys.
Yeah, I agree with that. But you never know if it's short enough. We've seen the Pirates through the course of a first half of the season to an all-star break be competitive and then fall apart in the second half. That's been their Achilles heel. All right, real quick, I want to ask you guys about the designated hitter, because if this plan goes through, Andrew, start with you on this one. It is a designated hitter for all teams. To me, if that happens, then say goodbye to seasons down the road without pitchers batting. I think once they adopt the DH, they're going to stay with a DH regardless of what happens after this year.
Well, you say that, Bob, but aren't designated hitters expensive?
So
and
what?
Who knows the finances of baseball beyond this year? No, I know we're aligned on whole let's spend, but if now all of a sudden they're not getting the money because there's no gate revenue, are they going to be able to convince all 30 owners that the designated hitter is here and here to stay, universal in both leagues? What I think is also likely, guys, coming out of this, and this has also been rumored, no home plate umpire calling balls and strikes. All computer, all machine. And if that happens in this abbreviated season, I could absolutely see that being used from here on out.
And that's exactly what I was going to bring up, Andrew, is I think what would be more likely is the automatic balls and strikes out of this one. Potentially the DH too. It's a way to get both in for next season. It's definitely going to be a shortened season. There's no question about it. And I'm going to take, I will take anything that they put out there to get baseball back.
All right, real quick, we have about a minute here for this. Give me a time frame that makes sense. That, I mean, we don't know. We're sitting here talking about a pandemic that may go on longer. However, if there's mitigation, if things change, and if a health official say it's okay, Andrew, when do you think a baseball season can begin?
Well, if it's going to be the Florida-Arizona thing, then they can start, as late as like September? Because if they're going to play, there's fall league baseball in Arizona, it's probably actually better to play there in the fall and into the early winter. So I could see them pushing it back. I mean, there's no rush. If that's something they could see eye to eye in playing in those two locations, then it might not be until the fall. And you could get a 60, 70, 80 game season over the course of like September to January if you really wanted to do it that way.
Listening to these press conferences on the national news channels, I did hear Dr. Fauci mention one time he was asked by a reporter about sports and large conventions and concerts. He did mention August as a time frame where he thinks that we could get back to a normal. What is normal? I don't know, but he did mention August, and I'm hopeful that we can get back to normal in August. I would think your time frame. We heard baseball talk about the beginning of July and trying to get things started as training camp in June. I think that's pushing it a little bit. I think if you had to ask me to bet on it or guess and make a realistic guess, I would say we'll start to see things end of July, beginning of August.
All right, we have plenty more coming up, including NHL. Where might they play? It won't be in their home cities, it looks like. We'll talk about that. We got some Steelers stuff on the way. But first, it's always exciting when a team moves into a new building. That's certainly true with the team at #1 Cochran Hyundai South Hills and their spacious new facility, even though they only moved less than a mile up the street. Right now, for a limited time, get special grand opening offers in both sales and service. It's the new #1 Cochran Hyundai South Hills, now conveniently located at 3220 West Liberty Avenue. The showdown returns right after this. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran, Go One Better, and by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.